As you know, horizontal slider or the carousel, it is really popular, so I have already created the video on that topic, you can check it out. But today we are going to do some extra thing. So this video was requested by one of my viewer named Sanjay, and in this video I'm going to create animated circular image slider with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So we are not going to use any third-party libraries. With vanilla JavaScript we are going to create all these animations, all these transitions, so lots of things are going on. Without further ado, let's start.
Hello and namaste everyone, this is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button.
Sorry guys for this late video. I don't want to give any excuses, but I was not fine and still I'm not completely fine. But yeah, the journey must go on. Let's create index.html file. Inside that, if I type exclamation sign and hit that tab button, then you'll get this HTML5 boilerplate. For the title, let's give animated circular image slider using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Inside the body tag, let's create div with class name circular slider, and inside that div I'm creating unordered list with class name wrapper. Inside that, let's create list items with class name slides, and inside that I'm creating image element. And for the image, let's give the source. For the source, I'm giving images/monkey.luffy.jpg file. As you can see, in the same folder we do have folder name images. Inside that folder there are different images that I'm gonna use in this video. So these are the images. Now you can duplicate the code and you can give different source of images, but I want to save some time, so let's copy this code and paste it there. Nothing much more is going on. I'm just changing the source of images. Okay, now with the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. So you can see we are getting all those images. Okay, now let's create a style.css file, and just below the title tag let's give the link for our style.css file. Inside the style.css file, for the root pseudo class I'm giving different color variables and also variable for height. So again I'm copying this variable code. I'm creating dark blue CSS variable and I'm assigning dark blue color, and also there is sky blue color. And for the slider height I'm giving there 30 rem, and with the help of that calc function I'm trying to get half value of that height dividing by 2. For the universal selector, so in order to prevent the browser's default margin and padding, I'm giving the margin and padding of 0. And also I'm giving box sizing to border box, border to none, and for the font family I'm giving sans serif. Now let's style the body tag. For the body tag I'm giving the minimum height of 100 VH. For the background color, let's give that dark blue CSS variable that we have declared inside that root pseudo class. In the browser you can see there is no any changes. It's because of that huge images. So first of all let's style those images. Before that, for the list item with class name slides, let's give the width of 10 VW. And for the images which is inside that list element with class name slides, let's give the width of 100%. Okay, those images are really small, let's make it a bit big, so let's change that width 16 VW. Okay, this is fine. Now for the image, let's give the border radius of 50%. And also let's give object fit to cover. Similarly, I want to add the common CSS property. Okay, so for that, first of all let's create the class name flex center, and for the class flex center let's give display to flex, justify content to center, and align items to center. So with the help of this code I want to bring each and every content exactly at the center of its parent. Now let's copy this flex center and let's give that class to our body tag. Now you can see everything is at the center of your browser. Similarly, I'm giving the same class flex center for the div with class name circular slider. Now let's style that div with class name circular slider. For the circular slider, I'm giving position of relative. For the width, let's give CSS variable slider height that we have given for the root pseudo class. As you can see, we have assigned there 30 rem. And also let's give the same value for the height. Okay. Now for the color, let's give the white color, and also let's give text align to center. As you can see, we have created the unordered list, so you are getting their default style. Okay, let's prevent that. For that, for the universal selector, once again I'm giving list style to none. Now you can see in the browser all those bullet points are gone. Now let's style the unordered list with class name wrapper. For the class wrapper, let's give the position of absolute. for the width, let's give 100%. That means we are taking the same width that we have given for the div with class name circular slider, and also let's give the same value for the height. Once again, I want to give the same class flex center for unordered list with class name wrapper. And for the class wrapper, later on we'll remove this border, but for now let's give the border width of 1 pixel, border style to solid. For color, let's give crimson. For the border radius, let's give 50%. In the browser you can see we're getting that border circle with crimson color. Now for the class slides, let's give the position of absolute. For the left I'm giving 0, and for the transform, let's give rotate Z. Now what we want to do is that I want to distribute all those images equally around this circle. So for that I need to do some calculation. For that, let's give the calc function, and inside that I'm giving 360. As you know that 360 degree makes complete circle. So if I divide by 5, so what is the reason that I'm giving here 5? That's because as you can see we do have 5 elements or the 5 images, so we are giving that 5 as number. And if I multiply by, let's create the image number variable. As you can see, I haven't declared this variable anywhere in my CSS code. So what we are going to do is that we want to create that CSS variable in our HTML file. So now for the list item, let's give style attribute, and I'm giving that image number CSS variable. For the first image, let's give image number 1, 2 for the second, 3 for the third. Still you can't see any changes. It's because we need to give degree unit. And for that transform property, I need to give another value, that is translate y. So for the translate y, I'm giving half sliders height CSS variable that we have declared at the top. That means the 15 rem, okay. Now in the browser you can see some changes. Let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. Now you can see all these images, they are equally distributed. And also in order to bring exactly at the center, let's give the transform origin. For the transform origin, we are giving the same half sliders height CSS variable. In the browser now you can see now it is exactly distributed around that circle. So this is exactly what you want. But as you can see, the angle of our image is not right, okay. So to fix that, let's duplicate the same code and let's take it to the image. So now if I divide by, instead of that +5, if I divide by -5, so it's a kind of a trick with the help of which we can prevent the rotation that is inherited by children from its parent. And also we don't need that translate y. Instead I'm giving scale. Again I'm declaring another CSS variable scale, and initially for now let's give 0.8. If I save in the browser, you can see the angle of our image is now completely working fine. Now when you hover that image, let's change that scale CSS variable to 1. And also when you hover, you can't see any kind of smooth transition. So for that, let's give the transition for the image. For the transition duration, I'm giving 0.4 second. For the timing function is, so now when you hover, you can see that smooth transition. Now let's take it a bit down. Okay, so for that, for the div with class name circular slider, let's give top 42 VH. And for the class wrapper, let's give the transform rotate G to 0 degree. So we are going to change that transform property with the help of JavaScript code. So once again, in order to give that smooth transition, we need to give their transition. For the transition duration, I'm giving 1 second. For the timing function, let's give easy out. Now when you click any images, when it's something like it needs to be rotated, okay. But before that, for glass slider, let's give cursor of pointer so that it indicates we can click that images, okay. And now it's time to create JavaScript file. I'm creating script.js file. Just above the end of body tag, let's give the link for our JavaScript file. So I'm writing script. For the source, let's give script.js. So in order to rotate that unordered list with class name wrapper, we need to select that unordered list. So for that, in the script.js file, I'm creating constant variable circular slider, and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So we are selecting that class wrapper, and also we need to select all these list items with class name slides. I'm using the comma. I want to prevent that using constant keyword like multiple times. Now for the slides variable, let's assign document.querySelector all. So with the help of that query selector all, we are trying to select all the list element with class name slides. So now when you click these all images, now we need to rotate that unordered list with class name wrapper. So for that, first First of all, we need to iterate all the list element with class name slides. So for that, I'm writing slides dot for each method, and it will take the callback. We can pass their individual elements with its index, and inside that arrow function, if I give slide dot on click, so now when you are clicking any image, we want to rotate that on order list with class name wrapper. For that, I can give their circular slider dot style dot. As you can see in the style.css file for the class wrapper, we have already given their transform rotate g to 0 degree, and also let's copy transform property that we have given for the list element with class name slides and paste it there. Instead of that colon, let's change it to equal to, and let's use template literals, this backtick. So in your keyboard, just above the tab button or next to number 1 key, you can find this symbol. So let's close it. For all those calculations, I will wrap it inside curly bracket with $. So with the help of this, we can write our JavaScript code inside that curly bracket. And now instead of that CSS image number variable, we will change it to I variable. As you know, that degree, that is the part of a string. So instead of there, we need to give degree unit at the end. Okay, so this I, that represents index of each list elements, and also we don't need that calc CSS function. And in the browser, you can see when you click the image, it's rotating. This is not the angle that you want to rotate, so let's change some code. Okay, for the I variable, let's add 2, and instead of rotating in positive angle, let's rotate it to negative. Okay, so let's give minus just outside of that curly bracket at $. And also I want to begin class wrappers rotation with minus 360 degree. So now in the browser, when you click any images, so this is the exact angle that I want to rotate. So the reason that I have gave there I+2, it's because I want to end the rotation at the second place. That means at the center. But the angle of image, it's not working. So let's duplicate the same code and let's give variable name to images. Again, we are using their query selector all, so that we can select all the image elements that is within the list item. So once again, we need to iterate all those images. So for that, I can write images dot, I'm using for each method. Again, the process is similar to the above code. We are iterating each and individual image with its index. Now you can write img dot style dot set property. So we want to change the image number CSS variable that we have given at index.html file. So let's give the CSS variable's name. In the style.css file, you can see for the image, we have done some calculations with the help of that image number CSS variable. So now we will change that dynamically, and all those image number CSS variable, it was declared at the index.html file. So what if I give to 2? Once again, in the browser, if I click the image, this is the exact angle of the image that I want. So now let's add the extra effects. What I want to do is that I want to indicate the current active image that you have clicked. So for that, as you can see, first image, that is the Luffy's image, and second image, that is the Naruto's image. So I want to give class active for that Naruto's image, because we want to represent the image which is at the center of your browser as an active image. So for that, for the second image, I'm giving class of active. So now in the style.css file, for the image, when you are giving the active class, at that time, for the width, let's give 110%, and I'm giving outline width of 0.1 rem. For the style, let's give solid. For the color, let's give that sky blue color. I have changed my mind, let's give 160%. So in the browser, you can see the image with class name active. It is bigger in size with the sky blue border color. But what I want to do is that when you click any specific image, we want to give the active class for that specific image only. Okay. So in order to get that, again, we need the JavaScript code. I can do something like slide dot query selector. So we are selecting that image element which is just inside that list element, and if I give dot class list dot add, so we are adding the active class for that specific image that we have clicked. So in the browser, you can see when I click, did you see that all those active classes, they are added to all those images that I have clicked, but I want to add only the image that I have currently clicked. Okay, so for that, as you can see, we have already iterated all the images. Inside that iteration, what you can do is that let's duplicate this code and let's take it inside. Now instead of that slide, you can write images dot class list dot. Instead of that add, you can write remove. Before adding the active class for the specific image, first of all, we are removing all the active class that we have given for the images, and after that removing operation, once again we are adding the active class for that specific image that I have clicked. So this is what is going on here. Now once again, in the browser, you can see if I click, did you see that active class, it is not applying for all those images, it is only applying for the image that I have currently clicked. So did you understand the concept? And also I have noticed there something is missing using. I think it's from the CSS code. Now inside the standard CSS file, so when you are giving that active class for the image, at the time let's give outline offset as well. Okay, so for the outline offset I'm giving 0.5 rem, and also we don't need crimson border for that wrapper class, so let's comment it out. Once again, in the browser, when you are clicking any specific image of any character, I will display that name of character just backside of that character image. So for that, we need to add some extra element in index.html file just above the another list. Let's create h1 heading with class name, character name, and for the character name I'm giving Naruto Uzumaki. It's because the image that is currently active, it is Naruto Uzumaki. Now let's give some style for that h1 heading with class name, character name. I'm giving position of absolute. For the font weight, I'm giving 600. For the font size, let's give 6 rem, and for the font family, let's give sans serif. So in the browser you can see, and for the text transform, let's give uppercase. So this is the text. For the white space, let's give pre, and also I'm giving color of transparent. And let's give the text stroke. So for that I'm using the prefix WebKit text stroke. I'm giving strokes width to 1 pixel, and for the color let's give that sky blue color. So in the browser you can see this beautiful text. Now let's take this text little bit upside. So for that I'm using transform translate y. For the translate y I'm giving minus 450%. And for the body, if I give overflow to hidden, did you see that all the overflowing elements, they are hidden? Now next operation is that whenever you are clicking any specific character, you need to dynamically change that character's name. Okay, again we need the help of JavaScript code. First of all, we need to select that as on a heading with class name, character name. So let's duplicate the same code. Let's change that variable name to character name, and we are selecting the class character name. And now as soon as you click, at the time we want to change the character name's content. So for that I'm writing character name dot text content is equal to, before that, in order to change that character's name's content, you need to get the character name. Yeah, so for that, just below the end of another list, let's create another div with class name descriptions. So now we are giving the different descriptions for each characters, and inside that div I'm creating another div with class name descriptions item, and inside that div let's create h1 heading with character name. For the paragraph we'll give some small description about the character, and also let's give the button with text view more. First of all, let's comment that overflow hidden that we have given for the body. Let's uncomment that, and now let's give some style for those div with class name descriptions. For the descriptions I'm giving position of absolute. For the height I'm giving the CSS variable half slider height, and for the bottom let's give 50%. Okay, I have misspelled there. For the bottom let's give 45%. As you can see, our text is just above the character's image, so I will take it to the backside. So for that I'm writing g index of 100, and for the class wrapper, if I give g index of 200, the description of character is just backside of that character image. Now let's style the div with class name descriptions item. So for the class descriptions item, I'm giving width of 80%. For the opacity, I'm giving 0. It's because when you are giving the class active for that div with class name descriptions item, at the time we will change that opacity back to 1. And also when you are not giving that active class, at the time let's give the height of 0%, and when you are giving the active class, at the time let's give the height of 100%. So it means like initially you won't be able to see all the descriptions of characters. We are changing that opacity and the height's value. So in order to give that smooth transition, for that I need to give again transition duration of 0.7 second. For the time function I'm giving is in out transition delay 1 second, but I want to give the separate transition code for height property. So for the height let's give the transition duration of 0.9 second, and for the transition delay I'm giving 1.1 second. So we need to give like specific description for each characters. So for that, in order to save some time, once again I'm copying these descriptions of characters and just paste it there. Okay, so the order of the descriptions and the images, that should be matched. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to get the exact description of the character that you have clicked. Okay, so you have to remember that. And also you can see for the second image element, I have given their class of active. So for the description as well, I'm giving active class for the second div with class name descriptions item. So before adding active class dynamically for that div with class name descriptions item, I need to give some extra CSS property for that descriptions items. Let's give display flex direction to column, justify content to center, and align items to center. So I have changed my mind. Let's give width of 100%. But as you can see, our description is not exactly at the center. So for that, if I give margin top and bottom to 0 and for the left and right auto, then you can see our description is exactly at the center. But I have noticed their position of our active characters image that is not correct. So in order to fix that, let's swap the position of that scale variable and the width that I have give for the image element. And when you are giving the class active for that image, at that time let's give scale to 1.3, and also let's change that width to 120%. In the browser, you can see proper position of that active characters image. And also now let's give some style for that paragraph as well as the button element. So for the paragraph, let's give the margin top and bottom to 1 rem. For the left and right, let's give 0. And now you can see proper space between the button and heading. For the button, let's give the padding. For the padding top and bottom, I'm giving 1.3 rem, and for the left and right, 3 rem. For the background color, let's give that sky blue color, and for the text color, let's give black. And also let's give cursor to pointer, border radius to 2 rem. Okay, now you can see that beautiful button, but you can see that description is a little bit downside, so let's take it a bit upside. So for that, let's change day with class name descriptions bottom value to 50%. This is the exact position that I want. Now whenever you are selecting the image, now you are able to select the image of characters. So in order to prevent that, let's give user select to none for that image element. And now whenever you are clicking that specific image of character, I need to change the name of that character as well as the descriptions of that character. So once again, in order to do that, as you know, we have already given that active class with the help of CSS code. Now we just need to add and remove all those active class with the help of JavaScript code, and you will be able to get that effect. Okay, so for that, now we need to select all the div with class name descriptions item, and with the help of that heading of the description, we'll be able to change the current character name that we have given for their h1 heading. Okay, at the top, little moment ago I did try to change the characters names text content, but I have left there. Okay, now in order to change that text content, what you need to do is that first of all, let's duplicate the code and let's change that variables names and class name to descriptions items. So now what you can do is that as soon as you click the any image of character, at the time we are changing the characters names text content to, you can write something like description items. Within the square bracket you can pass there I, so that I represents index of the image character that you have currently clicked. So with the help of that square bracket I'm trying to get the exact description of the character that I have clicked. So we want to select that h1 heading that is within the day with class name descriptions items. So I can write there dot query selector. If I give h1 dot text content, and now in the browser, if I click any image of character, did you see that the name of character that is dynamically changing? But I want to add some animation for that character's name. So for that, once again, let's give the class active for that. That's on a heading with class name character name. So when you are giving the active class for that class character name at the time, before that, initially let's give the just translate. For the y, we will keep same minus 450%, and for the translate x, let's give minus 80%. And initially we'll give the opacity of 0. And let's duplicate the same code and let's take it to that class active. For the translate x, let's change back to the 0%, and for the opacity let's give 1. So now whenever you are giving that class active for the character name, at that time we are changing the transform and the opacity value. So in order to give that smooth transition, once again we need to give the transition. For the duration I am giving 0.7 second. For the timing function let's give easy out, and I want to give the separate transition property for the opacity. So for the opacity let's give transition duration to 0.5 seconds. So now we need to add that class active with the help of JavaScript code for that h1 heading with class name character name. So in order to do that, initially let's give their character name to active. So now whenever you are changing that text content with the help of JavaScript code, that smooth transition it won't be applied. So for that we can take the help of set timeout function, and it will take the callback as well as the timeout which takes in millisecond. So for the timeout let's give 800 millisecond. So the reason for I'm giving 800 millisecond is because our transition is 700 millisecond. Okay, that we have given with the help of CSS code. So I want to give a bit higher value than that transition duration. Now inside that, let's take that code inside callback, and now we need to give active class for that character name. So for that I'm writing character name dot class list dot add. We are adding the class active. Let's take this code offside. Okay, as soon as you click image of any character, at that time we'll just remove the class active from that character name, and after 800 milliseconds we will add that class active for that character name, and we'll change text content of that character name. Now in the browser you can see that cool animation, but I want to change that transition value at entry of that character name. So let's duplicate the same code and let's take it to that active class, and let's change that transition duration to 0.5 seconds, and for the opacity let's change that transition duration to 1 second. Once again in the browser you can see at the exit and at entry of that character name our transition is fine. Now it's time to add class active for that character's description. So now the process is same. You can write something like descriptions items square bracket that I represents the index of the character's image that you have correctly clicked, and with the help of that code we are trying to add the class active for the description of the character that you have clicked. Okay, so you can write dot class list dot add. So we are adding the class active, and also if you were along with me just a little moment ago, we did face some problem when we were adding that class active for the character's image. So right now we'll be facing same problem. So in order to prevent that, once again let's duplicate the same code and let's take it to that for each method, and now instead of adding active class we'll remove the active class. Once again let's go back to the browser, and in the browser you can see and everything is working fine, but I have noticed there when you hover that descriptions button you won't be able to hover that element. And also now I have changed my mind. Let's change that descriptions items width. I want to change it to 70%, and also we'll remove all those G indexes that I have applied for class descriptions and for the class wrapper. If I click any specific images, everything is working perfectly fine. So let me know in the comment box what do you think about this animation, transitions. So we did lots of things in one video, so because of that the length of our video is a bit long, but I think it's worth it.
So that's all for today video. If you did learn something, smash that like button. If you have any kind of queries, let me know in the comment box. Share this video if you think someone needs it, and also if you haven't already hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell icon. Remember, there is always more to learn, so keep learning.